this time we're asked that, Monday, November the 8th, 2021, 6:00 p.m. At this time, we have our invocation. We ask that Chief Rampy give us our invocation.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come once again thanking you for you being God and being God all by yourself. And Lord, now because you're God, we come now lifting the city of Lafayette up to you. We pray that you do what you do best, and that is be God. Lord, we pray now for our mayor and our council. We pray for all of our citizens. And Lord, as we come together, we pray that you'll help us to be able to reason together. And we pray that everything that is said and done will be that which will glorify you. And then, dear Heavenly Father, we pray that you'll just continue to bless the city of Lafayette in a mighty way. And then, dear Heavenly Father, when all has been said and done, we will be so careful to give you all the praise and all the glory. For it is in the mighty name of Jesus we do pray. Amen. Amen.
This time we ask our clerk for a roll call, please.
Councilmember Mangrum. Here. Councilmember Hunter. Here. Councilmember Thomas. Here. Councilmember Ellis. Here. Councilmember Williams. Mayor Bond.
Here. Reading of the minutes, October the 25th, 2021, from our regular city council meeting minutes.
I make a motion to approve our minutes for the last meeting.
Second. It's been properly motioned and second that we approve the reading of the minutes for October the 25th, 2021 from our regular city council meeting. Any discussion on the motion that's on the floor? If not, all in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same right. Motion approved for the reading of our minutes of October the 25th, 2021 from our regular city council meeting. Is Ms. Kim Smith present tonight? Yes. Yes, ma'am. Come forward. We have in attendance tonight Ms. Kim Smith. She's here on behalf of speaking about Christmas gift tree and donation, gift box idea.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I have my eyes. In the past I've participated, let me start by saying thank you for seeing me. Let me come and present my Christmas tree idea, Christmas gift idea, and tell you who I am, Kim Smith. I live in Lafayette. I've lived here for 4 years. In the past I've participated in angel trees and things such as that, and I've realized that we don't have anything like that for our elderly, or not that I've seen for our children or anything. I've spoke with both the extended care and the nursing home here in Lafayette, and there's approximately 100 residents between the two of them, and I would say out of the two of them, there's probably 50% of them that don't have people that come and see them. They don't get Christmas gifts, and I would like to host a Christmas tree, a gift tree, or a gift box, or several, if that would be possible. I've brought a couple of bags with gift ideas in them, if you would like to see what I have. I think I've got a total of $8 to $10 in each bag. So that would be about $1,000 total if we get 100 bags put together for both facilities. So, that's about it. Anybody have any questions? Anybody like to see what I have in my bags?
Yes.
Okay. Can I set them here? This bag has a lap blanket, $2. A pair of no-slip socks, $1. A little thing of body wash and lotion, deodorant, a hairbrush, and a bag of cookies. Actually, I think this bag, all total with the bag, was $7. And that's not too bad for somebody to get Christmas, you know. What I'm asking is that I be allowed to put the gift boxes or gift trees with like angels with just male or female on the angel, and someone take one of the angels and I will give them gift ideas. I can either put my number on the angel so that they can contact me, or I can leave gift boxes, a box at the location of the trees for them to put gifts in. So this is another bag. It's, again, got a lap blanket, and it's got mechanical pencils and a puzzle book. I've got all these ideas from the facilities themselves of the things that the residents would like to have, or they think that they would like to have. Again, a hairbrush, a tin of cookies, no slip socks, hand lotion, and deodorant. And I think this bag was, well, I know it was $9 total with the bag. So, and I'm just asking permission to go around and ask for donations at the businesses, and put up the gift tree or trees, whichever I'm allowed.
What are the locations you're putting your trees up at? I'm Councilman Langman here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I haven't spoke with any of the businesses because I didn't want to do that until I had permission to do it. My ideas are like Renfro's or Piggly Wiggly, the courthouse, the post office. I think those are the busiest places. So I would just have to go and speak with those people there to make sure it would be okay.
Sounds like a pretty good idea.
Can we accommodate something like that at City Hall?
City Hall's closed right now. I don't know who's talking. I can't tell who's talking. Sorry.
Mr. Hunter's talking over here.
Yeah.
Okay. I know that City Hall is closed right now, right?
Yes, still.
So no one would be coming and going there.
That won't work.
So,
I wonder if
Mhm.
this is something that you could, we have that Christmas committee going right now. I wonder if something you could get with them and y'all can work together on that. Maybe that's something you guys can add. 'Cause they, like I said, the Christmas committee already getting together doing and planning things, and I think they got some good ideas. Maybe it's something they can incorporate with what they
Right.
already got going on.
sounds like a good idea. Okay. Like I said, I'm new. I've only been here 4 years, and I actually don't live in Lafayette. I live outside, actually out towards Sykes area. So, I don't know a lot of people. So, anyway, I'm willing to, or, I'd love to be able to.
Okay. Got two Christmas committee members here, Ms. Holloway and Ms. Schroxel.
Hi. Okay,
Maybe that's something.
so I'll just get with them but it's okay that we do that?
Do we need a resolution on this, or?
No, I think if it's in conjunction, if they're able to work it out, it should become a part of the Christmas committee and maybe decide. I don't think we need a resolution on that, I don't think.
That's the only resolution you might want is just one, encouraging and or something like that. No real action for the council.
So if I get together with the committee, then I can do it. Okay. All right. Any other questions or
I was
concerns?
looking for a phone number, but the Lafayette Rotary Club does some of that as well,
Okay.
so it might be a good idea to coordinate with them. I can't get my email to come up, so I can get you the phone number.
Okay. I probably could look it up. Lafayette Rotary Club?
Yeah, they're supposed to got a Facebook page. I don't
Okay.
do Facebook, so
Well, I don't either, so,
there's supposed to be a web page too, but I don't know.
okay. All right. Is that it?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you for
Yes,
your
ma'am.
time.
Yes, ma'am. Do we have any more Anyone have any questions for Ms. Smith before she leaves? Okay, thank you, Ms. Smith.
Thank you.
Ms. Adrian Holloway and Ms. Proctor, Christmas Committee request. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. What she's handed you is partially what we would like to purchase for the city, for the square, and hang lots of lights and have the Christmas tree decorated with the children's decorations and so forth. And so we're needing a little bit of funds to get this kicked off, and we would like to ask if you could provide that for us. We would like 5,000, but we know that money's tight, and we're gonna try to find other means too.
I'm Adrian Holloway. Thank you all for allowing us to be on the agenda. And as she said, you guys were aware of the Christmas on the Square committee that was being put together in an effort to us as the county seat. I think that we need to represent Lafayette, their citizens better or whatever. And so in an effort to, as we approach our holiday season, to plan some events or some things for downtown. The committee has met several times, and in our meetings, some of the things that we have discussed and are looking forward to being able to do. One is the city parade, and that is tentatively to be held December 11th. In conjunction with that parade would also be Christmas on the Square, and what that would look like tentatively is a lighting of the Christmas tree, some Christmas caroling, some free refreshments to the citizens who are there as well. And also with the focus on the 431 side. So what we're really needing is more so for the decorations and for beautification of our city during the holiday season. And so you see a list here kind of broke down that would suggest, help you to understand a little bit more about the 5,000 that we are requesting. You see a quantity of 22 strands of 300 LED lights, and that's coming to approximately $800. That will be covering, we've got 4 9-foot Christmas trees that are inside of the courthouse that the schools from the community come in and decorate that. And so it is my understanding that it is no longer pre-lit, so we wouldn't need lights for those trees. And then also the garland that you see that runs along kind of in front of Lafayette Summer, that area by the courthouse. We need the strands of lights for that as well. So that's about $800. You see banners, and I've got a quantity of 2, and we're talking about more of the larger banners that would go across the intersection, maybe in Newman's when you're coming in, Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays, or however it needed to read, from the city of Lafayette, for those people that are coming 431, coming into the city. And then the same on the opposite side, maybe Kim's Place or somewhere there, so that either direction you're able to see that. And I know we see it as an expense of $1,000. I really see it as an investment, because that'll be something that we can use year after year. Whatever the entertainment is, we're talking about Christmas caroling, so we're trying to just incorporate some churches and things of that nature to offer that, but in the event, we still need the mics or whatever that might entail. So that's where you see the DJ/entertainment. To be able to make this a free event that anybody in the city would be able to attend, then you see your refreshments there. As part of the parade, of course, first, second, third place, so the plaques and or banners, so we would judge them prior to the parade. They get a banner on their float, so you know who was first, second, and third place as they went through. And then the last is some gas. One of the things that we thought about, and I know some of our neighboring cities are doing it, is allowing the fire truck to take Santa through the neighborhood. Of course, we'll have Santa at the parade on the fire truck, but some of our neighboring cities have Santa kind of drive through the neighborhoods, and it's really been been a big deal for some of the kids. And we thought that that may be something that would be good for our kids here in Lafayette. I've got a cost there. I did speak with Chief Moody earlier, and there may not be a cost associated with that, assuming our truck is ready, but I did want to include that. And now this total of about $3,500 does not include the lighting that we've reached out to Brad Shaver in reference to, and if you would allow Brad to come up with me he could explain the lighting that we're looking at outside of the courthouse a little better. And again, that will be more of an investment, something that we will be able to use year after year.
Thank you. Thank you. Holly and I run a landscaping business called Estate Masters, and then at this time of the year, we do holiday lighting, and it's grown every year. We do commercial Christmas lights, and they have a 10-year warranty, and we store them all year. So that way, when we get ready to put them up, we don't have to call and say, where are the lights or whatever. They just, whatever day, and people like them put up at different times, taken down at different times. So we figure out when those dates are, and then we install them and take them down. The first year, you have to pay for the lights and the install, and then every year after that, you just pay for installation and removal. And then there's a little cost built in for storage. So, and I met with Miss Lynn up at the courthouse last night, and we looked around and just threw some ideas around, and so I'll get with the committee and they can decide what they want, what they don't want, but I got a price sheet, and so trying to think, is there anything I left out? But they are very good quality. They will last, and if they fail, then they're replaced for 10 years. So it's pretty good quality stuff. It's a little more expensive than what you would get at Lowe's or Home Depot, but generally they last a lot longer. So if there's any questions, I could answer that. The ideas that I came up with last night, and I just sort of wrote all this out, was the really tall, the 5 tall pencil trees behind Joe Louis that are like 35 or 40 feet. We talked about lighting those up. You could really see them good, and then maybe lighting up those crepe myrtles, and then draping some strands of lights from those are they're light poles. There's like 6 light poles going into that entrance right there. We thought about maybe draping lights, and that would light the whole place up right there. And then there's a little cedar tree to the right. That could be like the little Christmas tree outside. So, and then maybe hang some Christmas balls or something on it. Anyway, so that's sort of what we came up with last night. But we can just give a price list of different things, and then y'all can decide what you want, what you don't want. Sure. Okay. All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Any other questions that we might answer for you all?
Yeah, have you had any discussions with the county as far as the courthouse grounds?
Go ahead.
Yes, I have. We went to the county commission meeting last week, and they are going to let us know for sure on the 13th as to whether we can have the actual tree lighting and the caroling on the square. But as far as the decorations and stuff, they're agreed to let us go ahead and do whatever decorating we need to do. I asked them to help with the funds, and they said that the county could not, because they don't have any funds to use, because everything is, they don't have a discretionary fund. So the only thing that they could do was just allow us to do that. And then we'll find out on the 13th whether we're going to be able to do the caroling on the street over there where they're talking about lighting the Christmas tree at the entrance where the Joe Louis statue is. So that's what we're holding out. And the one thing that we would need would be a power drop from, power supply drop from the city over there for Brad to be able to install the lights, to be able to use them, and I've talked to the electric department, and they said that if the city approved that, that wouldn't be a problem. We can't run the power from the commission, from the courthouse, because they're not up to date on their electrical supply, plus they have all the computers and stuff in all the offices. They can't take a chance on, blowing in fuses to lose anything that's in the computers, so that's where we stand. Now, the trees on the inside are what have been put in there for the last 5 years. The only thing is, this time the lights are blown because of the way that they've been stored and the usage of them for 5 years. So we've had to strip the lights, the pre-lit lights off, and we're having to put new lights on them to keep from buying new trees, because new trees would cost us about $600 a piece. So to I'm sorry. So to answer your question, we're waiting on the actual caroling and the tree lighting that we want to do the night of the parade. But as far as the decoration, they said that we could do whatever we needed, whatever we wanted to do as far as decorating the courthouse.
The only other thing, vocational school has done some lighting past few years. Have you discussed any of this with them? They have any plans this year?
I have, they're not going to do anything.
Oh, she has.
Sound like we need to take care of our own, so can't depend on other folks all the time. They won't help us. So.
Just want to check, make sure.
Yes,
Didn't
sir.
have two people doing also.
Yeah, they're not going to do anything. I've already spoke with them.
We want to make this a tradition that we invite people to come to the Christmas on the Square every year. And eventually, we're looking at trying to become a 501c3 so that we can get donations and the city wouldn't have to use their funds. Got a few things in mind that I've just discovered, so we're working on that too. But we just got to get kicked off. So. Need your help.
Any other questions for us?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
I'd like to comment that time is short if we're going to try to do something, so we need to make some kind of decision.
Yeah, it's right around the corner.
I make a motion that we pay the money for this to help the Christmas committee on this.
I'll second that.
We need to be a little more definite on the amount.
At least put a ceiling on it, I guess.
I think it's $3,500 roughly in here, but she requested $5,000, so.
I think 35 is just the lighting and all that. It's,
It's in absence of, that's what's on the sheet she gave.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the 35, the sheet that I gave you had Brad listed with the to be determined amount, but I did not have a final number on that.
She requested $5,000, which she's standing at the podium.
Correct.
Yes, and Brad has the total of what he was talking about. And that is what we really wanted to go with. The list that Adrian had given you was if Brad could meet underneath the amount that we had asked for to give the actual community the lighting that it needed to show our town off. But Brad has the actual listing and the amount of what it would take.
So I worked on these numbers this afternoon, and I mean, we could do 50,000 around that courthouse, but we got to stay in budget. And so we need the best bang for our buck. So if we could all meet up there and figure out how we could light it up for the cheapest. I mean, I've got about $4,900 worth of lights right here, but I have it itemized so we can figure out what we like, what we don't like. I mean, we could do half of that. And, you know, I really feel like if y'all are going to start this, these little businesses downtown, if they could contribute to their building, and then we just need a spark to get the fire going. And I think if we do that, then we can walk in and say, look, you know, the city's done spent this money. You mind spending $300 or $400 and let's do your building? Because if we could do lights all the way down the top of this one and then go across Alabama Avenue, eventually over the next 4 or 5 years, we might really have this place jumping. And so even if we only spent $1,500 or $2,000, just something to get it started. So we can work together to figure out how we can light it up the most with the smallest amount of money, where they can do the other things they want to do too. So.
Yeah, and then we can add next year.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
So, you amend your motion?
I want to amend my motion. I think they requested $5,000. I make a motion that we approve $5,000 to help the Christmas fair.
I'll second that.
At this time, it's been properly motion. Second, that we approve the Christmas committee request of $5,000. Any discussion on the motion that's on the floor at this time? If not, all in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same right. Motion approved for the Christmas committee request of $5,000. Police Chief George Rampy and Code Enforcement Officer Jameson Hammond, update on the 911 address project as well.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Good evening, Chief.
First of all, I'd like to introduce our code enforcement officer, which is Officer Jameson Hammond, and he is the former chief of Rockford, and also with code enforcement experience that he also took on that task at Rockford PD. So I want to introduce him to you all and let you know some of the things that he's been working on since he took over the job here as code enforcement officer. He has been meeting with the 911 center, Mr. Donnie Smith and Ms. Jessica Yeager, and they have gotten the different phases going to try to get the addresses corrected. So for the last approximately 3 weeks, they have been working together on that project. So I'm gonna let him give you an update at this time.
Right now, they broke it down into phases, and we're on phase 3, which is pretty much everything up and down Avenue A and off the side. And in the past week and a half, I have probably at least 20 addresses we've been able to make contact with and notify the resident owners that they are updating their address, or supposed to be updating their addresses with the new numbers to coincide with 911. I have another meeting this week to move on to the next phase until we complete all the phases and get all the addresses updated. That's primarily what we're working on right now, but as you can see, he's doing it in phases in the big maps to map down the areas and break them up into phases for each area. So far on this phase, other than 2, and they're vacant, we've had good luck in getting them all updated.
And also, in doing so, they're going to continue to work on the city limit signs and also the jurisdiction signs. They had some equipment that they had to order in order to do proper measurements. So that is something that's going to be included along with the addresses. So it'll be a continuous effort to try to get those things straightened out.
I do have a question. Are we going to start working on dilapidated buildings again?
Let me address it. Chief Rampy, I would like to meet with Officer Hammond before we really get into dilapidated buildings or the weeds and grass and the junk cars and junk ordinances. I'd like to sit down and go through Officer Hammond and discuss all that with him. Make sure we start off on the right foot so that we don't have any issues like we have been.
Okay.
And 2, I think we should meet and look at that ordinance too, to see if any changes need to be made to it, or.
Yeah, we'll discuss. Because the one we have is difficult to work under, but we can can put procedures in place so that make sure that it happens, and make sure they're coordinated, and there are some other things available, but again, their ordinances, all this stuff is authorized by state statute, so you have to follow those state statutes.
Right, because I was in another city the other day, and they give them 45 days from the date that it's condemned. Put the notice on the property and, you know, but anyway, yeah, it's something good, we need to get working on that.
And I'm just as concerned about following up after the fact, and actually putting a materials lien on it, and then going back and collecting the money that the city spends
Yes.
on doing this to the property as well. If all those things are done properly, then it'll be less impactful to the city's finances and get that property available where something can be done with it rather than just sitting there and being a problem year after year. You tear down a house and you got weeds and grass next year. Because nobody's taking care of the house, they're not gonna take care of the grass either, so it would work out like that. I'd like to go ahead, and since we started this procedure, I'd like to go ahead and start this one out on the right foot so that we don't piecemeal it like we've done in the past. You haven't been here, it's a long story.
And also, with the suggestion of Mr. Davidson, we're getting them registered with the people that represent the city of Lafayette as far as the business license. So he'll have access to be able to go in and look and see who has license and who don't have them. And that way he can continue to move forward in that area as well.
Also, Chief, while you're up there, I have something to say. This morning, I saw a couple of wild bobcats, so we do have some bobcats that are alive and well in this city. Big old huge cats, big cats. So they are dangerous, so you might want to check in that. Was a couple of them across the street from my house, and they was right in the back of Chuck's house, not far from the daycare.
Okay.
I got one more thing too. Today, I met with somebody and they approached me and they was complaining about the big trucks coming through about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and hitting those Jake brakes on Lafayette Street. And those things are pretty loud. And I've been to some cities and towns too where they have ordinances make that they're not allowed to use those brakes within the city limits.
Right.
Something we can look at on that too. I'd like to see us look at that too, because that is a problem.
Right. Okay.
I did some research on that, Chief, could get with you on that.
Okay. Sure. Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
We appreciate it, Chief. This time we're down to our department heads monthly report. We have our department heads in attendance tonight, so we don't have anything for our department heads, then it's in attendance. All right. Report of officers, we have let's go with cemetery fee discussion. I think that's on you, Matt.
I can start off a little bit, I suppose. Our cemetery fees are set by ordinance, we don't have to be changed at all. So, they were set, I get the year, I had this
1990, I think,
a little bit after that, but even so.
91.
91 and 97.
Yeah. So there hasn't been much change, and
30 years.
as far as setting the fees, I don't think it's a very difficult change as far as drafting the ordinance change, but I will, why we need really is the numbers. The numbers are extremely low at this point. It's a 2-part fee as well. It was originally, you had to buy a minimum of 2 spaces, and then they came back and changed it, we can buy a single. But they're $150 for the grave space itself, and then $150 for the per grave space, and then $150 for special care. So it's $125 essentially, but only $50 for the lot, and then $125 to care for it for the rest of the term. So that's extremely low. I don't know that it has to be two parts like that. If you break it up and pay $50 for the lot.
I think it's a good idea to break it up, because that way you commit to the care of the cemetery, and that's important.
Yeah, and if you do that, sometimes you break it up, though, you'll be asked to escrow those funds and put them in a perpetual care fund. And I don't know exactly how the city's finances work on that. That's more of a Lou's question.
Put all the money in one account.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
We just put all the money in one account.
So what are we looking for here as far as, are we looking for a number?
Actually, we're looking for a number.
I don't see Mr. Green.
Is that right?
Hide behind you, dude.
So,
Since Mr. Green here, we can hear from him. He's part, he's over there, so let's hear from him before we.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening, Mr. Green. Since part of your duty is to oversee the cemetery, can you just kind of tell us how is that done, and pretty much the care, and I guess how much you put into that, labor-wise, keeping it cut, all kind of stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yes, that would be.
Well, pretty much every year, we have a budget for the cemetery, just like street sanitation. I think, like in the last few years, we pretty much had a high sale of a grave. And, as you know, we are already trying to expand. I think at the current prices, probably been causing us to, get a little bit more activity from our neighboring cities, So right now, we kind of low on some of our cemeteries for its grave plots, because of the low numbers. And we also have kind of put in the budget to do this expanding of the other one. So, we expect to spend a little bit extra money over on the new section out at Handy, for graves and plotting and mapping and all that. So, right now, probably would be a great interest in, to try to see that. We'd be expecting a little bit more upkeep on, in the cemetery.
Do you have any estimates on the number of new grave spaces and the cost it's gonna take to establish the new area?
Well, the estimated grave that's possible would be, we would probably get out of that, I think, 4.5 acres, probably about 2,000 or 2,100, based on the width and how they platted out and what the width of the roads and
Which cemetery we're talking about?
we're speaking on Handy right now. Our city cemetery out in front of East Side, it's in good shape. We probably got, a couple thousand, I would say, available in that cemetery. And Gresham is our third cemetery. We doesn't sell any lots in it because of when we inherited, there was any maps or didn't have too much idea about, what most graves was. But it's
Can we get to the dollar amount?
big one.
The dollar amount?
Well, just talking about in the expanding we possibly done. I think I kind of budget around about 16,000 for this expansion. That would include roads and, like I say, mapping. This time we're gonna try to get everything on the system like we should get it. Makes it a bit easier for future sales of graves and keeping up, record keeping and all this kind of
So
things.
do you have a suggestion for the prices for the cemetery lot, the increase? So who has that suggestion?
Well, just doing some little research, I would say some neighboring churches within our city limits is probably no less than $250, $300 in that neighborhood. And researching beyond that, some of them $400 to $500 per grave. So in the last few years, like I say, we kind of getting overwhelmed with the numbers coming in because of the low number, and pretty much done sold out in the section that we in now. We pretty much don't have any until we get this thing expanded out there in Andy. So.
Estimated how many more graves do you think we have available in those cemeteries right now?
Well, in Handy, the current section that we're using, we probably got less than 60 or 70, and that's kind of spotted all over the cemetery. Would be safe to say.
Mr. Green, you said about 16,000 to finish up the new part to get it ready. Was that gravel roads or asphalt roads?
Well, that was an estimate based on, currently we got gravel roads. I know it's pretty expensive there, but first we're looking at the construction of cutting the roads and just, prepping it. It was something hopefully I was looking at doing it in phases, because I knew it would kind of take quite a bit to do it all in 1 year. But we got it cleared now, seeded, sodded, and it's just ready for the roads to be cut, and some surveying and some mapping need to be done.
What kind of roads do we have in the other cemeteries? The city and Gresham?
Gresham, paved roads,
Okay. About the city,
paved roads.
and we have gravel road over
We
there.
have gravel.
So I think we should have gravel roads in all of them. I mean, paved roads in all of them.
I agree.
We should be consistent.
I did get an estimate on that a few years back, and it was about $30,000 to do the one that we had now.
I just think we need to be consistent in all the cemeteries.
I agree.
One other thing, attorney, you might be in there, Steve, when it comes to the new cemetery, is there any kind of soil testing that is required by the state before we open it up?
I know that private cemeteries require health department approval, but I don't know exactly what that consists of. I don't know that the expansion, I'm assuming, would require the same kind of approval. I don't know that it's difficult to get, but yeah, there probably is soil testing to go with it, make sure the water tank is low enough.
It just might have to be some rezoning done, I think, if we do that also. But that was coming at a later date, when we got it prepared, because it's in a residential area right now. Now, it might be M1, so we're looking at change that to our cemetery. I can't remember exactly what number.
Guy next door is not going to object
No,
to that.
the guy next door won't have any problem with it. Thank you very much.
Mayor, are we looking to put some numbers here tonight, or what are we doing?
I will say this, whether we go with some numbers tonight is something we don't have to get done. And I just, the average church around here is $500. And
That's 500 for one or 500 for two?
just for one.
Okay. Just wanted to make
And
sure.
some is $750. That have to be paid in before you can, before the undertaker even come out with his equipment. So, I mean, it's something for us to think about, whether we want to do it tonight or wait till our next meeting where everybody can think about it, and during that time, we can email each other with some numbers. But like I said, the average is $500. I mean, that's the,
Mayor, I think that's a little high, because I know some churches, I know we do need to increase, but I think, as Superintendent stated, anywhere from $250 to $300 is what's going on with the church cemeteries in the city. That's at our church. That's what we're going to call it. I'm over the cemetery at our church.
And in response to Councilman Manger's question, I remind you that it is going to take an ordinance,
right.
and I do not have one ready.
Okay. But it's just something for us to think about with some numbers. it's 200, 250, 300, 500, 600,
Who's chair,
Definitely need to
who's
come
chair
up.
of that committee?
You are.
Thank you very much. That's what I know. We're gonna call a cemetery committee meeting, for one day next week, and we can get it done and bring a recommendation back, to the rest of the mayor and council, for the next, council meeting, or we can have a work session prior to the next council meeting, get everybody involved, and
Yeah.
I'd like to have everybody input.
Let me just remind everyone too as well now, you know, we, as Council Thomas just mentioned about soil testing, we also said that we want to be in guideline with the rest of them are paving, so that's expense. I just want everybody to remember that. It's gonna cost, so, you know. And we, as you look at, we almost about to run out on the old cemetery, 60 or 70 left, so we don't have much time. Okay, you gonna send out an email?
What about, next Monday night at 5 o'clock? Is that good for the committee members?
Works for me.
We'll have a committee meeting next Monday night at 5 o'clock.
You don't have it here or at City Hall?
Here.
Here. All right. It's time we're down to our street and improvement project change order, pay request number 1. I think that's you, Matt.
Apparently, I just got the finger from Lewis.
The other couple wasn't here.
He was selective in his fingers.
And while you're up, Mac, just go ahead with notice of claim for Miss Cammy
I was
Hesper.
just trying to remember everything.
All right, so we can
I think
move along.
I got the claims memorized. Thank you.
Okay.
First of all, on the change orders, on the street paving project, as the engineer presented last time, and I believe George backed this up, about half the project is completed. A large portion of it is waiting on Spire to deal with their issues getting across 431 to avoid them digging up the new pavement that we just put down. So another issue that was brought up last time by the engineer was a request for a change order for the portion of the project that went beside the old McClendon building down behind the fire station down that street there. He had proposed to change that to a street between, I don't even know what that street is, but the continuation of that street, basically the alley that goes down beside the bonding company, the dentist right in there. This change order is actually for the street that runs between First United Methodist Church and the old Colonial Bank building, which is a wider street than that one. It also has 2 inlets down at the bottom of the hill that are supposed to be repaired. I don't quite know why it was changed to this one, but that's what's on this change order. It also gives an extension to the contract for another 90 days from the date of this change order to give them time to get that done, and hopefully Spire will get out of the way by then. We can get the rest of the project done. That's what I know about the change order. I think it'd probably be proper to have a vote on the change order before we deal with the payment request.
Who decided the street?
I don't know.
Well, I'm just,
We got a volunteer over here.
Okay.
Once again, the engineer met, and
discussion on which street might be best for the amount of money we can get. We had this discussion, I think we talked about it at the last council meeting, about the work that we possibly might go on at the City Hall complex at the McClendon building. The generator is on the opposite side of the street. So if any repairs, or I think they also had a water line that might would have to come up that existing street. And, excuse me for being over here. And that road will probably gonna be dug up again. So I think also on the contract, if I'm not making a mistake, that street was one of the options that we had on there. So I didn't really think he was gonna bring it this quick, because we were gonna discuss it. But that street going by the McClendon building was I think like a number 8 option on the contract. So that was a street that could have been done or option out for another street. But when we went up and reviewed this First Avenue Northeast, when we went up and looked at it the other day by the BB&T Bank, which I've been kind of surveying it, the road is cracking up real bad. That road receives a little bit more traffic off, but during school time, most of the traffic have to go down by BB&T Bank, cross First Street Northeast, and go around by the school. So looking at that street in a matter of a year or so, it's going to be in bad enough shape to where we're going to have to kind of go out there and do a lot of work. That street is a little bit wider than the street that was up Courtway North, Southwest, and looking at the kind of money, because it's about 10 feet wider. So when you start optioning out on that street and looking at another street to try to make the money kind of balance out, that street, that was one of the options. It was a little bit less, I think, but he was also trying to look at just overlaying another street, wouldn't have to mill it, to try to make it balance out to where there wasn't any extra cost, and we've really got 2 more street paved instead of 1.
Okay, so my question is ultimately who decided on the street?
That was something that I went and looked at. That was something that was on the option. Once we looked at it, and we knew this work might go on up there, we went in discussion. So he brought it to the meetings to be talked about, I guess, in discussion. Alan.
So 2 weeks ago, when you guys were here, y'all were discussing 2 streets at the same cost. So now we're going back to 1 street for the same cost. Even though you're saying, and I understand that you're saying it's wider, I understand that. But 2 weeks ago, that same wide street, along with another street, was going to be put in for the same cost.
I just said I think in the last.
But it's not here in the change order. That's why I'm saying it like that.
That might have been something he changed after that, because he was going to look at the other little street, not milling it. This street would be milled. The other little street just doing overlay on it, not milling it. He thought, now once he was going to check his number when he left me the other day, that it possibly could do both of them, but one of them milled and fix those drains. That was going to cost a little bit more money. And then just do an overlay on the other one. And maybe it did not work out on that part. Maybe he didn't get a chance to notify me on that. But, and that street was kind of like a continuation of the street, First Avenue Northwest, which is going by Renfro. It would just come on across and tie in with First Street Northeast. But when you actually go out there and look at it, it's in bad shape just as well.
Well, I agree the street needs some work done to it. I mean, we're getting information one week saying one thing, the next week saying something else.
This is the same street we talked about last week.
You ain't got as many streets. You ain't following me, Mr. Green. 2 weeks ago, we had 2 streets. That's all I'm saying, we had 2 streets.
Right. When we went out, we have went out and looked at, surveyed the street since then, and some drain work got to be done. See, when I went out and looked at it, I just took a wheel and measured the width and the length. Those 2 streets equal the same length as that 1 street. But when we went out there and looked at it, to look at the turn-ins and the drains at the bank, it gonna cost a little bit more because you gotta have some drain repair. So that kind of took one of the streets out.
But you guys had already looked at these streets 2 weeks ago, though.
No, That's what I'm saying, I measured the street. When me and him went back out there and did further surveying, since the last council meeting, we discovered it needs some drain work at the end of the street, which needs to be done instead of just going out there overlaying it and milling it, because you're gonna have a water problem. So I guess once he went back and ran his numbers, it might have not have been in there. I'm learning that the other street wasn't in there either, because the overlay of the Second Street is just a little short street, but it's just gonna pave over it, wasn't gonna mill it. So maybe the numbers did not work out. So that was the reason why he just got one street in there.
Well, maybe we need to talk to Mr. Tucker so we can get a very clear understanding on all of this, and, you know, so that there's nobody have any, you know, miscommunication as far as what we're doing, what streets we're doing, and what's the cost gonna be. I think as far as him being the engineer, he needs to be here to defend what he's put out there. And, you know, we talk about paving for the city, and we're trying to get some stuff paved, and, you know, so the roads are better in Lafayette. And I don't have a problem with doing these things, but, I mean, you know, when we keep getting conflicting information, then, it is money that we're talking about.
Well, you know, when you go out and survey them, it doesn't make any sense to kind of like fix the street and you got a drainage problem. So, like I was saying before, Council, we measured it just in feet, and then we went out and seen a little more extra work had to be done.
But, you know, I'll say once again, if we'd have went along with what you guys kind of talked about last week, 2 weeks ago, it'd have been a done deal with the roads the way that y'all talked about them 2 weeks ago. But then we get this change order in here tonight, you know, talking about, you know, one road, and it's gonna still cost the same thing.
Councilman, I think the best way to resolve that issue is to delay this until the next meeting. But I will ask the engineer to prepare a cost comparison so you know exactly what apples to apples. I'm not real sure why he's not here today, but.
That's all I was saying.
That's fine.
Same thing.
I'll make sure that it's presented so there's not a question next time. The second part of this agenda, I'm sorry. You all ready for me to move on? The second part of this same agenda item, I believe, is the partial payment under the contract that's currently done. The pay request apparently is in accordance with the terms of the contract. I don't know if Lewis had a chance to review it, but it would have been reviewed by the engineer. But the invoice is for $367,610.25.
Is that for what he has already done, or?
Yeah, I believe the entire contract's 600 and change.
Okay. Now, how are we as far as, I think he's kind of behind time on this, what was supposed to have been done at this point? How we deal with that?
Yeah, well, a good chunk of the reason he's behind is because fire was and has been in the way.
No, I
Okay.
beg to differ on that. I think
Yeah.
a lot of time, Chris Clark, that they could have been up here doing work and they haven't. And they're busy doing work in other cities and towns and stuff, and kind of put Lafayette on the back burner. So if they're not where they're supposed to be in that contract, we need to look at, do we pay less money because they're behind schedule? Or they haven't lived up to their obligation on that contract?
I believe this was discussed at length at the last council meeting.
I'm getting old, I can't remember what I used to, but I'm talking, it's on my mind right now, and I don't think that's right.
Well, it was brought up last time, and I believe there's actually a request by the city for Chris Clark to hold off on a good bit of it. He showed up ready to, but yes, it did happen. And
What said it, Lafayette?
the city of Lafayette, yes.
No.
Because the same time when he moved his equipment, it was the same time the Spire gave the notice that they were gonna come in. And he was a little bit late under that contract, but not much. I'm sorry?
I think
He was a little bit late before that, but the equipment was here when Spire announced. And I actually live on the street where we paved it in a hurry, and we now have square holes we bounce over all the time because Spire
What
didn't
about?
up. That's just a testimony.
We need to look at that contract.
We'll be glad to look at it.
Are there penalties or whatever for not holding up his end of the obligation? You can't put everything on Spire. I mean, they've been a scapegoat ever since they've taken on this project. And it's time for them, you know, they owe a refund or cut the price on the cost of what we agreed to. I think we need to look at that.
I'll be glad to look at the contract.
So is the date here 11/30/21 the original date that was set forth as far as the completion date for this work to be done?
I'm not aware. I did advise at the last council meeting, for those of you that were here, that the contract needed to be extended to deal with the current Spire problems. But apparently they don't exist, so we'll deal with them next council meeting, I suppose.
For Superintendent Green, have anyone checked the work that they have already done to make sure it was satisfactory work done and there was everything that was done correctly as far as the paving and the drain and all the different areas? Have anyone checked behind them?
I also go out and check as well. We just had one area that the curve, that we brought to their attention about the curve. But the only thing that haven't been done is the striping in the area. And I think they're trying to do all that at one time. The curved roads have been paved, striping. Curb and gutter been put in on First Avenue Northeast, and all the places that supposed to be, it's been put in. But it has not been striped yet, so I think that's gonna be at the end of the job.
When is the end? And that's the question everybody want to know. When is the end? I mean, since they haven't, you know, paved some of the other roads, they can come on in and do the striping on what they've already done.
Well, right now, the end is based on the Spire. Now let's repave it, and then they cut it up.
Well, I think what the councilman referred to, the roads that already been paved are not gonna be affected by the work that Spire have to do.
They just have not been striped.
The strike, that's what I'm talking about. Couldn't they go ahead and be striping those?
That was discussed last council meeting as well. It's just a process that it makes a lot more sense. It was priced to do it all at one time. If it has to be done in two separate occasions because of Spire, it may cost some additional monies. But what I'm getting from the council is the council doesn't seem to be concerned with the delays caused by Spire. They intend to enforce all the negative consequences for the lateness, whether it's caused by Spire or not. That's what I understand. That's what I'm going to research, and I'll research the striping as well.
Well, I think that, that's not 100% correct because what some of the councilmen have spoken of already was that, the job wasn't started on the exact time frame, and it wasn't Spire's fault that he didn't start on time. I mean, we'll go back and just actually look, and, yes, we asked them to hold up at some point because we didn't want the citizen money wasted for cutting up roads as soon as they got put down. Yes, we did. If you go back and just once again think and look, the original start date, there was nobody here. We went on, I think, for 2 or 3 months discussing and asking, where's Mr. Clark, where's Mr. Clark, where's Mr. Clark, when's he coming? So I don't think it's just being thrown out that Spire is the problem or the holdup. It's just that we wanted everybody to understand that there was a delay already by Mr. Clark, and so at this point, this is where we are.
Well, I'll do that.
Job's not finished.
I'm sorry. Thought I understood.
But if Mr. Clark had in fact finished the paving on schedule, then we would have had Spire come in and tearing up the freshly paved roads. It works both ways.
I think what I'll do is I'll write it up to address Councilman Mangum's concerns and what Mr. Ellis has brought up. I'll try to make sure that I do a full analysis of the contract as it was laid out, and then I think I'll come back and overlay it with what streets Spire did actually dig up and present it to whether it was advantageous for the delay for the city or not, and give an opinion on whether the city ought to try and enforce some penalty mechanisms. And of course, it's this council's decision on whether it wants to enforce those penalty provisions. So I think I'll just try to do a global, and instead of piecemealing it, just try and do a global summary of what has happened through the entire project and how the contract affects the facts that are actually on the ground. I think that's what I'm
We have somebody
getting.
from Chris Clark Paving here at our next council meeting.
Yeah, I don't know why we couldn't. I believe he did come
He's straight from the
That
source, I
meeting.
mean, that's-
about 3 months ago, 4 months ago. Yeah, I mean, we will ask if you'd like.
No.
Did you make a note on that, Liz?
Okay, thank you.
All right. Tell Alan he can show up next time. There are 2 notices of claims. The first one is Ms. Tammy Hester. This is a laundry because of water issues claim. I don't have the number. It's $52 or $3. From the documentation I was provided, it's pretty obvious that it was a city issue. And it is my recommendation that the city's negligence caused the damage to her wash, and that we should pay her to replace for the damaged load of clothes.
I make a motion to that effect.
Second.
Been properly motion, second. Pay the notice of claim for Ms. Tammy Hester on the said amount. Any discussion on the motion that's on the floor? If not, all in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same right. Motion approved to pay the notice of claim to Ms. Tammy Hester on the said amount.
The next claim is by Ms. Anastasia Perry. This was an automobile accident involving one of the police vehicles. It exceeds our deductible on our insurance policy, so it is my recommendation that this council deny the claim and refer it to insurance company for adjustment payment.
I make a motion, we deny the claim and refer it to the insurance company.
Second.
It's been properly motion and second that we deny the claim for Ms. Anastasia Perry. Any discussion on the motion? Not all in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same right. Motion approved to deny the claim. Thank you, Matt.
Yes, sir.
Hearing of petitions, application, complaints, appeal, and communication. Councilman Main.
I don't have anything.
I don't have anything either.
Councilman Thomas.
I don't have anything.
Councilman Ellis.
I have nothing there.
Councilman Weed.
I just want to bring up one thing, Mayor Hines.
Yes, ma'am.
I think back when we first got elected, I talked about maybe moving the council meetings from 6 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Our clerk live in Auburn, and he's here for committee meetings and council meetings, and lately we haven't been getting our council meetings till almost 8 o'clock, which gets him home about 9 with his boys and his wife. I would like for this council to think about and maybe discuss it at the next council meeting, changing the time from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock to 5 o'clock. This is not any inconvenience to anyone. Just think about it and.
I would, what about 5:30 or 5:15, because you don't work at 5 o'clock.
That's
It's gonna be
fine.
hard to get here at 5 when you work till 5.
5:30 is fine. It's better than 6 o'clock. But just, I mean, if it's all right with y'all, if you have a problem, or if you need to think about it, if you don't, then maybe I'd entertain a motion tonight if it's appropriate.
We've actually said by
Ordinance.
ordinance, our organizational ordinance that we did in the first meeting.
Okay, well, what do we need to do
saying that, I mean, we, in that, meeting we had the other night, there was some discussions as far as, trying to improve the council as far as the informational board that, we even, start having work sessions before the council meeting. And, we were hoping that, we would shoot for 5 o'clock, to start up on, before every council meeting to entertain, a work session every time. And this would, probably eliminate a lot of, called meetings on some points as far as what we're doing. And, if we do this, we all, do work and, time frame, 5 would be good for a work session to go into council meeting at 6. So if we move it, I mean, it's gonna shoot up, we're gonna kind of shoot ourselves in the foot as far as trying to. Well, I mean, one thing about a work session, 20 and 30-minute work session, you don't get anything done. I mean, that's, and I think that's part of what some of the problem is around here.
Councilman Ellis just said he can't get here at 5.
Well, I'm not, I mean, it don't take everybody to get the meeting started. And if Councilman Ellis is gonna show up at 10, 15 after 5, that would be still fine.
So you're not talking about starting council meeting at 5:30, you're talking about work session?
Yes.
I'm talking about.
I'm talking about a work session at 5. That's what, that was, I'm saying right now, there has been some discussion, that, we try to entertain this and, to better this council.
And I agree with that. We definitely need, work sessions.
But what you got to do with
I agree with that too.
I mean, 5:30, she was expecting saying 5:30. If you want to do a work session, you can call for that early if everybody wants to participate. But what I'm saying is 5:30, you can back your work session time, but it don't necessarily have to be at 5.
Okay, so I mean, listen to what we're saying, guys, because if you back it up, and I just said that, we try to entertain, our work session.
I withdraw any motion that I made.
And, we shoot ourselves in the
I
foot.
withdraw.
You had a motion on the floor?
I did, I withdraw.
I didn't know it was a motion on the floor.
She made a motion, she said if proper, and I said it was an ordinance, so she stopped. Because she's withdrawn.
All right.
But she did make a motion that he go proceed with the ordinance, right?
I did.
Okay.
It was never second.
So what-
It wasn't second.
It was not second, I interrupted.
Well, I didn't know there was a motion. Make the motion again. I was gonna second that if I would known
Well,
that there was a
apparently
motion on
it's a
the floor.
problem. It's a problem, so to eliminate a problem,
Remake the motion and I'll second.
I'll make the motion that the attorney
And I'll second.
proceed.
You proceed with the information you need to get to change the time.
Can we have a work session to discuss that?
Withdraw the motion.
We're getting into 2 different things at one time, on one thing, so, right. We either need to get the time right for the council meeting, or we need to get the work session time straight, so we keep joining 2 into 1. It's not gonna work, so we need to come up with the meeting, or the workshop, and then we
Yeah,
come
the
up with
motion
the
is made to this second.
All right, it's been properly motion. Second, that we give the attorney to look at the ordinance for our time change on our council meeting. Any discussion on the motion that's on the floor? If not, all in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same right.
No.
Motion approved. For the attorney to look at our time change on our council. All right. We're now down to audit account. Clerk?
We have claims in the amount of $229,716.86.
Second.
Been properly motion and second that we approve the said amount that our city clerk has given for our accounts. Any discussion on the motion that's on the floor, coming from our clerk? If not, all in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same right. Motion approved to pay our account. Resolution, ordinance, order, and other business. Resolution number 2021-11-08-01, road adoption.
I have prepared a resolution 2021-11-08-01. This resolution has some recitations about the previous or current relationship between the Board of Education of Chambers County and the City of Lafayette. It goes, basically states that the current vocational school was formed with assistance of the City of Lafayette, and that when that property was purchased, that there was an easement that allows access to the property. That easement is over private lands. The Chambers County Board of Education has since relocated its administrative building to that particular location just on the other side. They bought additional property and put their administrative building with their offices on the other side of that to replace the old administration building that used to be adjacent to the band practice field. It was a small, very small building. The one they built is much larger. It recites that the city and the Board of Education cooperate on various ventures. The Board of Education providing facilities for us to have votings in the gym because it's more accessible, especially in the current COVID crisis. It also provides the gym for recreation for the basketball program in the summer. They also provide a baseball field for recreation in additional recreation in the summer. The easement that is accessing to the vocational school is approximately 1,400 feet long. The Board of Education and Chambers County have entered into an agreement wherein the county has agreed to provide repairs to the first 600 feet, approximately 600 feet of that easement, which is badly in need of repair. According to the inspections, and I don't know if George, you've been out there and looked at it, but I believe the remainder of the road is still in good shape and is not in bad shape. And the County Board of Education, I believe Superintendent Chandler was here at one point. Okay. Yes, sir.
Should there be a correction to that?
Sure.
You stated the baseball field, and it should be the football field, the high school football
Well,
field.
they also do the football field. Well, they used to, the Pony League field. That's owned by the Board of Education. I don't think we have that league right now. But we used, there used to.
I didn't hear the football stadium.
No, you're right, but you're absolutely correct, Mr. Ellis. I believe the Lafayette's, what do they call it, Pee-wee, it's not a Pee-wee league, but anyway,
The football league.
the football league also uses the football field. As part of that, the county has determined that they're not allowed to do the repair work on an easement that's located on private property. That's not my opinion, apparently that's the county the county attorney's opinion. And the Board of Education has made arrangements, or is making arrangements, with the Board of Education to convey the property underneath the easement to the Board of Education so that they have full fee title to the entire parcel. And then once that is established, the county will make the repairs. The Board of Education at that point wishes to dedicate the street to the city, for the city to treat the same as a city street. I was asked to look into the legal merits of that. I did research on that. The research that I have found basically says that if any road or street is demarked on a plat, I don't know if that's the right word, delineated on a plat as being dedicated to public service or to public access, or dedicated to public use, I'll get it right in a minute, then that declaration holds. It's that way for subdivision. I went through the city ordinances, and we have subdivision regulations, which essentially says that any roads the city is willing to accept, that they have to be built to city specs. And so that is part of what's in the subdivision regulations. I don't think that this falls underneath the city of Lafayette subdivision regulations, because it's not really a subdivision, it's a single landowner. Now, the converse of that is, if the dedicated for public use area has not been improved, the city is under no duty to improve it. Additionally, if a street is dedicated to public use and it's in an improved condition, the city has no affirmative duty to maintain that street. It's pretty obvious throughout the town in a lot of different areas that the city does not necessarily have to maintain the city street in any particular shape, form, or fashion, only to the standards of the city. Now, high-speed areas and places where we dig holes in state highways is a little different situation, where you dig a hole in the state highway and the repair causes an injury to a car. We've run into that a few times, but we've also run into where we had a tree located on the right-of-way and the tree has fallen into a house, but it's not the city's responsibility to have removed that tree from the right-of-way. Removed it before it fell, I'm sorry. But only and it's not their duty to remove the tree from the house, only from the right-of-way. That is the sum total of what I have discovered. This resolution was drafted with that in mind, and basically all it says, upon completion of the repairs, the mayor is authorized to accept the dedication of the following property as a city street. That's essentially all it says.
So, Attorney Tucker, I have a question
Yes,
that I
ma'am.
asked you earlier,
Yes, ma'am.
and I'm gonna ask you again for the record.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any state law that forbids the county from accepting a road or a street within the city limits?
Now that, I don't have a full answer to. I'm not aware of that. I do know that there are several county roads within the city of Valley. The city of Valley was formed later, and they just didn't incorporate that portion of the city. But I am not aware of a state law that forbids the county for taking responsibility for that street. I'll sort of go back to the same concept that we discussed earlier, is that once a street is dedicated for public use, the governing authority is the one for which it's given for a public purpose. But again, there is no affirmative duty to maintain that. So the answer to your question is no, I don't know of any legal limitation that the county can't accept that within the city limits.
I'd like to know where we are in the process, because this was at one time private property, and then it was being turned over to the county or to the school board, and I don't, where are we in that process?
I actually represent Torbert Family Lands, which will be issuing a deed to the Board of Education, which is an adjunct and
So
related.
this has not happened yet?
That has not happened yet. An email was sent to the superintendent last week. I do not know the outcome of what was sent.
So if that has not happened, then why are we discussing that?
Exactly.
Because that was,
I make a motion, we table this until that transaction has taken place.
Accept the motion. I second the motion.
At this time, Mr. been properly motioned and second that we table this discussion on the resolution number 2021-11-08-1, road adoption. Any discussion on the motion that's on the floor?
Mr. Mayor, we've sit here, and we've allowed this to come before a resolution, and, you know, everybody knew what was transpiring with this road, and I just think it's shameful that we keep sitting here and we keep going round and round in circles, and, you know, we've been told all of the facts about this road. We've been told things that, you know, it just benefits the city as to just the school system, the city, you know, it all looks better, it all, you know, works out. Everybody has a nice road to go to. Everybody, you know, ain't nobody got to worry about, well, darn, y'all know that road over there is so bad and all this. And, you know, we've been here. And now here we are. I don't understand.
I'd like to say something. And you can talk controversial, or you can talk whatever you want to, but I can remember this coming up, before a council meeting, we had this subject. We talked about this. I don't think Mr. Hunter was in the conversation, but some of us were in the conversation, and none of us was. So, you know, nobody's gonna make me vote for anything. You're just not gonna make me vote for that. I have the right to say no, and I'm gonna say no when I feel like I wanna say no. But to try to sit here and make people feel guilty about a vote or tabling something, I think it's unfair.
I'm not trying to make anybody feel guilty because I'm the one that said that, so you're shooting
I'm
that
not
at me.
finished.
And I'm not
I'm
trying
not
to make you
finished.
feel
Let me
guilty and
finish.
no one else.
Would you let me finish? We discussed this. We talked about it. We talked about it, and you weren't for it. When we
Oh, that's
talked
a
about
lie.
it. Oh, no, sir. You
That's a
wasn't
lie.
for it. No, sir. You wasn't
Originally,
for it.
you're
No,
right.
sir. You wasn't for it. You wasn't for it
Originally.
when we talked about it.
Originally.
And that's what I'm reading. That's what I'm talking about. Originally, you wasn't for it. So, you don't make me sit here and feel bad about something, my opinion. I have a right to it.
And I'll say, because apparently that's to me, and I'm not trying to make
Yes, sir,
anybody
it is
feel
to
bad.
you.
I'm not trying to make you change your mind about a vote or
Right.
anybody else.
Right,
Because everybody here is gonna vote the way they wanna vote.
right.
And I will say again, it's shameful that we will sit here in the city of Lafayette, represent the city of Lafayette, and we drive that same road.
That's your opinion.
And I still say that I think that it's a conflict of interest for you to be discussing it, because.
I can discuss anything.
Yeah, you might.
I can discuss
Does
anything.
the Ethic committee
I can
and the
discuss
attorney general
anything.
think that would be right for you to do
I may
that?
not vote, but I can
Being that you
discuss.
work for the superintendent, you get your paycheck, this man sign your check every month. Attorney Tucker, have you ever read that situation?
I have reviewed the ethics statute. It's extremely difficult, but under the terms that I read under the ethics, if he's not part of management,
Have you got an opinion from the attorney general?
well, I'll give you my opinion, and I'll tell you where that's
That's
going.
your opinion, not the attorney general.
The ethics commission is actually who's gonna be ruling, and I have not received an opinion from them.
Okay, that's
It's
what I
been
want.
requested.
So at this time, you don't know whether he's under conflict of interest or not, right?
Not in my opinion, but no, I do not know what the ethics commission has decided.
Okay.
Again, it's been proper motion, second. We table resolution number 2021-11-08-01, road adoption. At this time, we'll call for a roll call vote for tabling this until further notice.
Councilmember Mangle,
Yes.
Councilmember Hunter,
Yes.
Councilmember Thomas,
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Bond.
Yes.
I don't see where I had a copy of the ordinance. You ready for the next item, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
The next item is an ordinance number 466. I've been requested to draft an ordinance raising the sales tax in the city of Lafayette from 4% to 5%. On the retail sale of most tangible personal property. And entertainment. Billiards, gaming machines such as that. The sales tax will remain 4% on heavy equipment and on automobiles. And there is also a use tax that reflects the same rates, 5% for items that were purchased with no sales tax and brought in the city limits and put into use. It'll be 5% for goods sold at retail, regular tangible personal property, entertainment, and then 4% on automobiles and heavy equipment and farm equipment. So this is the exact same ordinance that was passed in, I don't remember the year now, but some time ago. It's just that the percentages are changed to reflect 5% on personal property and on gaming machines. We are, that's what it is.
So would that change the overall, tax, sales tax?
It will change.
9 cents to 10 cents?
Yes, sir.
$1?
Yes, sir. For most things, automobiles will remain the same that they are now, which is somewhat higher than the other areas around the county.
4 times.
Well, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
We've been talking about this one since sales tax increase. Nobody never said exactly what this money was gonna be used for. Is it gonna be earmarked? We're gonna buy a fire truck? We're gonna buy a police car? What are we gonna do with the 1 cent? I think that the citizens and, we need to know. I mean, what is 1 cent gonna be used for? Mayor?
Well, again, time after time again, we had hearing, we had discussion on it. Right now, with our finances looking, we need to use it for everything. Infrastructure is number one, and on and on and on. But I can't say it won't be used for raises or anything like that. But it'd be used for overall of the city, what we need. I mean,
Yeah, but
I'm not gonna get into a whole lot of discussion on it, but infrastructure and just overall, just what we need to, income to come into the city. Because with one thing, we have lost over $400,000 dealing with Cardo's rubber.
I understand
Yeah.
that, but my question there is, I think that we need to make it crystal clear to the citizen, if we ask them for a 1 cent tax increase, what exactly are we gonna do with that money? They need to know exactly. Infrastructure could consist of a lot of different stuff, but I think we owe that to our citizens. If we're gonna raise 1 cent sales tax, we need to tell them what we're gonna do with that penny.
I'm not gonna sit here and say we're gonna earmark it just to one thing. This mayor and council has already voted for $200-some thousand that need to be paid for New City Park. All that is part of it. Like I said, that's the reason I said, just overall stuff that we need here in the city. If we just say earmark it just for one thing, then they have to be earmarked just for that one purpose. And we need to, not say earmark it just for one thing. We got to look at that $200 to $300, that $200-some thousand got to be paid from somewhere.
I never said earmark it. I said give the people an explanation or tell them what you're gonna do with it. I never said exactly. I'm saying you need to say, hey, we're gonna take this 1 penny, we're gonna buy a police car, we're gonna take this 1 penny, we're gonna invest it in park or rent direct. We need to be a little more specific and tell the people what we're gonna do with this 1 cent. That's all I'm saying. You talk about infrastructure, and all that infrastructure can mean several different things.
The reason I said infrastructure, number one is That's number one. The other thing is, you just said, you know, it's an overall thing what we need in the city. Down the road, we're gonna need ambulance out the water. So that's why I said we can't really say just earmark just for one thing. That's the reason I said overall, just overall need of the city.
General fund, using the fed and everything.
Just pretty much, you know, just hit the clerk here, he can, you know, to also to say, but I'm just saying this overall what we need here in this city. You know, and we all had hearings and discussion on this time after time again, what I said I'd like to see, but what I'm saying is we just can't, I'm not gonna say we just earmark it just for one thing. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna say that. Maybe somebody else gonna say that, but I'm not gonna say that.
You know, we just had a meeting last week to, you know, discuss, you know, the 1 cent sales tax and rate increases. And, you know, we didn't have a body here to discuss anything.
Nobody, no one, we weren't polled to see if we were available.
Exactly.
The meeting was just scheduled.
You don't bring the information back into the entire council yet?
Well, that's the mayor's place. That's not my place.
Tell him, he said that.
No, you said it.
Tell me.
You said it.
He says the mayor.
You said it. Come on, guys. I mean, this is ridiculous.
We've had public hearings, we've
ridiculous.
had meeting, discussion, it's here now. for-
Sit up here and do nothing.
The ordinance is on the floor, I think go ahead and proceed with that.
Exactly.
Bring it for a vote, you vote your conscience or whatever.
And just remember, this is an ordinance. It requires a first reading, which will be a roll call vote, or a suspension of the rules that require unanimous vote for immediate passage.
Make a motion for a roll call vote. That put in form of a motion?
For first reading,
Yes.
And also what, suspend the rule?
No, just to, for a roll call vote.
You're not trying to suspend the rules to go ahead and pass it or whatever, right?
That's gonna require unanimous, right?
Go with what you said.
Go ahead. Make a motion, suspend the rules and have a roll call vote on the, 1 cent sale tax.
that requires a second.
Second. It's been properly motion, and second that we suspend the rule for the ordinance number 466, sale tax. Any discussion on the motion that's on the floor? We ask the clerk for a roll call.
Councilmember
I
Mango.
have a comment, actually. And I see that we're going to raise the sales tax in some areas, but some of the areas were already much higher than surrounding cities. I don't feel comfortable with staying that way. So that's going to make it hard for me to vote yes.
You know, Mr. Hunter, you was just here in the meeting and
I
you
was
just
here in
talked
the
about
meeting.
all this.
Well, I discussed it. Look, people have told me that they support the increase, but they also say what Councilman Thomas says, that they like to know where it's going. I was in the meeting, I heard a lot of good things. I'm sorry that the rest of the members weren't here, but, you know, it would have been a more useful discussion. And I'm concerned about that aspect of it, and that information was not available to me until tonight. Okay?
What was it?
The fact that the changes that were being made in the ordinance, and the changes that weren't being made in the ordinance. That information came to me after I sat down.
I thought that wasn't when we had that graph in the meeting,
Uh-huh.
that graph didn't explain that?
The graph explained that we were out of step, if you will, on many issues. And I don't feel comfortable with that, and I've had complaints about it from citizens. I've also had citizens say that they would like to know what it's gonna be spent on. Same thing Councilman Thomas says. And it should be, you know, that we should explain, and I haven't seen anything like a finished budget yet. I saw the original budget proposal, and I don't know where we stand on the budget.
Well, we'll do whatever.
still in discussion, man. Are we still in the discussion phase? All I asked for the clerk to go ahead and do the roll call vote, but it look like we're still in the discussion phase.
Nobody's discussing it?
I'm done.
Go ahead, clerk.
Councilmember Mangrum?
Yes.
Councilmember Hunter?
No.
Councilmember Thomas?
No.
Councilmember Ellis?
Yes.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
Mayor Vine?
Yes.
It was 4-2, so the motion fails, because it has to be unanimous.
That doesn't mean that this body cannot consider the first reading of this ordinance just because the motion to suspend the rules failed.
Can we
The
put it on
ordinance is still
can we
in-
put it on the agenda for next council meeting for a vote?
I would suggest, because it's an agenda item, that the agenda item be tabled for consideration at the next council meeting.
I so moved.
Second.
It's been proper motion second that we table it. Coming from our city attorney. Any discussion on the motion that's on the floor?
I do have one question. Can we modify the ordinance in our, when we next consider it? Or is the first?
My directions come from the executive, so if there's to be a negotiation for the terms of the ordinance, my suggestion is once those negotiations are complete, they get presented to the mayor and he'll tell me to make changes to the ordinance.
Any more discussion on the motion that's on the floor? All right, if not, we ask the clerk for again for roll call vote.
Councilmember Mangrum?
Yes.
What are we voting for?
What are we on?
The table of the agenda item,
What now?
table the agenda item. The ordinance.
Councilmember Mangrum?
Yes.
Table it to when?
Next council meeting.
Councilmember Hunter?
Yes.
Councilmember Thomas?
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis?
Yes.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
Mayor Vine?
Yes. At this time, do we have a motion and second to adjourn? This time, in part of the motion and second that we adjourn. Any discussion on the motion on the floor? If not, all in favor by saying aye. Opposed, have the same right. Motion approved to adjourn.
Service here, that's what they